I'm on location today with Onika, and we're going to explore whether or not you should use high-speed sync, a neutral density filter, or a basic reflector when on location. When I started off photographing models outdoors, I was using a basic reflector like this one. And that's because back then, battery-powered strobes were not that common, and so this was the go-to method. Then, as technology evolved, we got battery-powered options, and then I started photographing outdoors with neutral density filters, and that's because high-speed sync didn't exist yet. And then high-speed sync came along, and that allowed us to shoot outdoors at any shutter speed that we wanted without a filter. And so it's been a very long time since I thought about even comparing these technologies. But in today's video, I want to do that for you so that you can see the pluses and minuses of using high-speed sync. Then we'll test out the neutral density filter, and then we'll go back to the old reliable reflector and sort of explore which one you might want to use when and why when you're on location. So I'm going to be using an Elechrome 5 today with a white maxi reflector, and there's a little white deflector disc in here, which is just simply in there to turn it sort of into like a beauty dish. I'm also going to be using this Canon R5 Mark II today with a 28-70 f2 lens. Now I'm going to be shooting at around a 1/4000th at f2, give or take, at 100 ISO. The reason for that is I want the background to go blurry, and I just want the focus to be literally and figuratively on Onika. So that's a reason why you would use high-speed sync outdoors. The other reason is that you would need to use a really high shutter speed in order to stop motion. So that's one of the advantages of using high-speed sync. So if I put the camera where your shadow of your head is, I should have the sun behind you. That's perfect. When we're using high-speed sync, what happens is it turns our flash into basically a strobe light with a lot of dim little pulses. And those pulses go on for about 1/100th of a second. And no matter what we have our shutter speed set to, not literally, but figuratively, that pulse occurs, and then our shutter speed, let's say 1/4000th of a second, just takes a portion of those pulses when the camera opens and closes while those pulses are going on. So it's not very efficient. Just looking to make sure I can see your eyes. You know, I think since I've got the camera so low, I should bring the light down. Now I'm going to switch over to using a neutral density filter. So one problem though is that this lens has a 95mm filter thread, which means that I'm going to need a 95mm filter. And unfortunately, I don't have one for this lens. In fact, they're pretty not very common. In fact, Tiffin, the company that I usually use, it doesn't even make one that big. So we're going to switch over to my Canon 85mm 1.2, which has an 82mm filter thread. And thankfully, I have a variable neutral density filter for that lens. By variable ND means that it allows you to block 2 to 8 stops of light. And that's going to allow us to shoot at a camera's normal sync speed, 1/200th of a second, while maintaining that f2 aperture. And I'm going to use the ND filter to block out 6 stops of light so that I can do that. Now we won't be able to stop motion like we were able to do with high-speed sync, but the great thing about that is that when we shoot at 1/200th of a second, our flash is just going to output one single bright pulse of light. And that's going to be significantly brighter than those little pulses that we were getting while shooting high-speed sync. I also liked shooting with the 28-70 earlier because it gave me a really cool perspective. But now we're going to get a lot of compression, if you will, from this 85 and just get a different look without moving our light. And because we're getting one single pulse of light, it means it's going to be a lot more efficient. So we're going to be able to turn our strobe down a little bit. We'll just need to do some testing in order to see how much that actually is. All right, so that's overexposed by quite a bit. I'm going to turn the flash down 2 stops. And we're going to try again. All right, I feel like we're getting quite a bit of lens flare, so I'm just going to hold my lens hood on here. Unfortunately, I can't thread it on like normal because the filter's in the way. Okay, that looks about right. So because of this, we're going to be able to turn our flash down 2 stops, and that's going to make the recycle time a lot faster and allow our battery to last a lot longer than if we were using high-speed sync at 1/2 power. Let me make sure the light's pointed at you. I see it's kind of pointed to the right of you. Put one hand on the wall. Yeah, that's better. So shooting with one of these variable ND filters on location like this is kind of a pain in the ass. The reason why, you tend to bump it all the time and then have to like look at the markings on the side and try to get it back to the right spot. But it can be really hard sometimes. So I don't know that I would suggest it over high-speed sync. It is more efficient, but maybe it's more trouble than it's worth. Let me know your experience though in the comments. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Or maybe using a fixed ND filter, like maybe a 4-stop one, would be a better move than the variable ones. If you feel like you're getting a lot of value out of this video, then you might appreciate reading my new book, The Photographer's Journey. It's designed to help you from choosing your first camera to mastering one-light setups, including shooting outdoors like we're doing today. From there, we build up to using multiple lights, working with gels, color theory, and even post-production. You can download your copy today at johngress.com/downloads. All right, so I've switched back over to the 28-70, so I won't be so confined in my composition. Xavier's gonna hold this regular 5-in-1, if you will, reflector for me. This is just something really affordable that I probably got on Black Friday from Adorama. Instinctively, when you have someone hold the reflector, they're gonna hold it low like this. And what that's gonna do is the sun's gonna hit it, it's gonna bounce up, and it's gonna look like it's some spooky Halloween like lit portrait. So you've gotta make sure that the person gets the middle of the reflector higher than the subject's face so that the light will generally come down rather than above. So if he just holds it up like this, now he's gotta tip the top of it over towards her a little bit, and that'll cause that light to be concentrated. And now we can shoot away at f2 at whatever shutter speed we need to be at in order to get the right exposure, which is probably going to be around a 4,000th of a second. Oh, go ahead and come closer to her, much closer. And then towards me, some. And then,
there we go.
Yeah, there you go. So the advantage of using the reflector is we don't need any battery power. We can shoot at any shutter speed that we need to in order to get the right exposure. And we can just fire away. I see you're struggling with the wind. I can tell because the exposure is all over the place. And bring that right hand on your forward. Turn your chest towards me, maybe. Yeah. So now your light's coming from the right, so just make sure you're pointed towards him a little, and then eyes here. Just don't turn your head to the left, that's all. All right, so as you can see, it's really hard on the person helping you to keep this up, especially when the wind is blowing like it is, which is about 12 miles an hour, which I think is about 19 kilometers an hour. So, the other problem was it's hard for him to keep it focused. So yes, it costs only $50. That's great. But then the problem is that it's not as consistent. So using a light would probably be better, which is why I would go back to probably using the neutral density filter or high-speed sync rather than this reflector. But if you can only afford the reflector, you can still make great shots outside anytime. Let's compare all 3 looks side by side. With high-speed sync, you don't need a filter, but it will cost you a bit of flash power. With a variable neutral density filter, you'll have to work to get it dialed in just right, but it will let you turn your flash power down, giving you faster recycle times and longer battery life. The reflector is by far the most affordable option, but it's harder to handle in the wind, and it might not give you that punch that you get with flash. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and sign up for the bell. And if you want to check out another video where I was shooting outside using high-speed sync, click on this video with Sophia over here.